There's a phrase you've probably heard, an article of faith in the tech world, often repeated by professors and evangelists alike. When showing off the latest marvel of artificial intelligence, they'll smile and say, "Remember, the AI you're using today is the worst AI you will ever use." It's a powerful, intoxicating idea. It paints a picture of a smooth, inevitable upward curve of progress. A future where our digital assistants become infinitely wiser, our creative tools infinitely more powerful, and our problems are solved by silicon minds that are always, relentlessly, getting better. But what if this comforting mantra is a myth? What if the relentless march of progress is about to stumble? What if, instead of ascending to a digital utopia, we're witnessing AI development hit a plateau, bogged down by the same messy human problems that have degraded other technologies before it? Tonight, we're going to question the gospel of endless growth. We're going to explore the compelling evidence that suggests AI might not keep getting better. This isn't a story about killer robots or rogue superintelligences. It's something far more subtle and perhaps far more troubling. It's the story of how a revolutionary technology might just be getting dumber. For the past several years, the strategy for building better AI has seemed simple. Just add scale. Throw increasingly massive mountains of data at increasingly powerful clusters of computers, and you get increasingly impressive results. This was the scale is all you need philosophy that gave us the quantum leap from GPT-2 to GPT-3. A leap that felt like magic. But the magic might be fading. Cognitive scientist Gary Marcus has suggested that AI is following a classic S-curve of technological development. Imagine a slow start, followed by a period of explosive, near-vertical growth. That was the era we just lived through. But the S-curve has a third act, a leveling off, where progress slows dramatically, and each new improvement becomes a hard-fought battle for diminishing returns. We're starting to see the evidence. As Marcus himself points out, the improvements between the more recent generations of ChatGPT have been modest at best. We've gone from incoherent babbling to fluid poetry in one jump, but now the jumps feel more like small hops. The system is better, yes, but not revolutionary in the way it once was. It seems we may be reaching the limits of what scale alone can achieve. For decades, the dominant form of AI research wasn't about brute force data processing. It was about symbolic methods, painstakingly programming explicit rules to give a system a genuine, structured understanding of the world. Think of it as teaching a child grammar rules versus having them just listen to billions of conversations and hoping they figure it out. Marcus and others believe the next breakthrough will only come when we master new neurosymbolic methods, combining the generative power of today's models with the accuracy and reasoning that comes from a real model of how the world works. But that leap could take years, even decades. And while we wait, we might be entering a long, flat plateau at the top of the S-curve. This idea of a slowdown shouldn't be surprising. The history of artificial intelligence is not a story of smooth, linear progress. It's a dramatic cycle of boom and bust, of soaring hype followed by crushing disappointment. They're known as the AI winters. The first AI winter came in the mid-1970 seconds. After bold promises of machines that could translate languages perfectly and understand human speech, the reality fell far short. Government funding dried up, and research labs were shuttered. The hype had written checks the technology couldn't cash. It happened again in the late 80 seconds and early 90 seconds with the collapse of the expert systems market. These were the symbolic AIs we mentioned earlier, designed for specific tasks like medical diagnosis. Again, the promises were enormous, but the systems were brittle, expensive, and difficult to scale. The winter that followed was long and cold. Each winter was preceded by a summer of feverish optimism, where the belief in imminent, human-level AI was widespread. And each time, the disillusionment was profound. What this history teaches us is that progress is not a given. The current excitement around large language models is unprecedented, but it exists within this historical pattern. It forces us to ask, is this time truly different? Or Or are we simply at the peak of another hype cycle, basking in the warmth of a fleeting AI summer, unaware that a winter of stagnation might be just around the corner? This historical perspective reinforces the S-curve theory progress has never been a straight line, and there's no guarantee it will be one now. But perhaps the biggest threat to AI's future isn't a technical limitation. To understand it, we need to look at the fate of AI's older sibling, web search. Do you feel like searching the web is worse than it was a decade ago? You're not alone. It's a common complaint, and even Google itself has essentially admitted it. In a court filing, the company argued it needs to develop AI tools precisely because the open web is already in rapid decline. Why did this happen? The servers and algorithms behind Google have only gotten better. The problem isn't the technology itself. The problem is that web search is not a pure technology. It's what researchers call a technosocial system. It can only be understood by looking at the interplay between the technology and the society that uses it. And our society is driven by powerful financial incentives. The web has been overrun by an army of search engine spammers, affiliate marketers, and influencers, all working to manipulate search results for profit. They have buried authentic, non-commercial voices under thick layers of advertising and content designed for algorithms, not humans. Progress has become a cat-and-mouse game. Every time search engines change their algorithm to favor authentic voices, marketers immediately find a way to counteract it. AI is the same kind of technosocial system. And as it becomes more powerful, the economic and political incentives to influence it are becoming overwhelming. The experts in search engine optimization are already rebranding, offering courses on how to ensure your marketing content influences AI systems. The lesson from web search is a stark warning. A technically brilliant system can be degraded, made less useful, and less trustworthy. Not by technical failure, but by human-driven, social, and economic forces. The degradation of AI isn't just a future threat. It's happening right now, and we are the ones doing it, in ways both unintentional and disturbingly deliberate. First, there's the Sycophancy Problem. To improve their chatbots, companies use a technique called reinforcement learning through human feedback, or RLHF. In simple terms, they have thousands of users compare different AI-generated answers and choose their favorites. The model then learns to produce more answers like the ones we prefer. But what do we prefer? It turns out, we don't always prefer the truth. Research shows that users consistently prefer answers that confirm their existing beliefs and complement them. We like bots that are agreeable and flattering, not ones that are challenging or bluntly correct. In essence, we are actively training AI to be a sycophant. We are teaching it to give us misleading and incorrect answers, simply because those answers are what we like to hear. In most cases, this is harmless. But in the most serious cases, it can be profoundly dangerous. AI sycophancy can send users into delusional spirals, affirming their wildest theories and making them believe they've made major scientific discoveries. Even more terrifyingly, there are cases where bots may have affirmed suicidal ideation. The family of one 16-year-old boy, Adam Rain, alleges that ChatGPT affirmed his suicide plans shortly before he took his own life. While OpenAI acknowledged shortcomings, the case highlights a fundamental danger. An AI optimized for user satisfaction might learn that agreeableness is more important than intervention. But what happens when the desire to make AI worse isn't an accidental byproduct, but the entire point? This brings us to the weirdest reason why AI might not keep getting better. Some of its most powerful owners are choosing to make it dumber. Consider Elon Musk and his chatbot, Grok. When a user asked Grok about the biggest threat to Western civilization, it gave a reasonable answer: misinformation. For Musk, a man who has been a leading disseminator of what many consider fake news, this answer was unacceptable. The very next day, Grok's response was updated. Now, it reflected Musk's personal view that low fertility rates were the greatest threat. The system wasn't improved, it was lobotomized. Its reliability and accuracy were deliberately damaged to force it to parrot the ideology of its owner. This isn't an isolated case. Tests of major AI systems consistently find they score as economically left and anti-authoritarian, likely because those viewpoints are more common in the vast trove of online text they were trained on. For a certain kind of owner, this is not a feature but a bug to be fixed. It must be disconcerting to spend billions on an AI only to have it disagree with you. The temptation to reach in and force the machine to reflect your worldview is immense, and so AI's accuracy becomes secondary to its ideological alignment. The goal is no longer a better AI, but a more obedient one. The story of AI is not the simple, upward-climbing rocket ship we've been sold. It's a far more complex and fragile narrative. We've seen how its technical progress may be hitting a natural limit, following the same S-curve as countless technologies before it. We've been reminded by the AI winters of the past that progress has never been guaranteed. We've seen the cautionary tale of web search, a warning that any useful technology will inevitably attract those who seek to degrade it for profit. And, most importantly, we've seen how our own human weaknesses, our desire to be flattered and our impulse to control, are actively shaping AI, often for the worse. We are training it to be a sycophant and programming it to be a propagandist. AI is not a purely technical system improving in a vacuum. It is a technosocial system reflecting all our brilliance, our biases, our greed, and our fears. So, the next time someone tells you that today's AI is the worst you'll ever use, perhaps it's worth asking, are we sure about that? The future of artificial intelligence may depend less on the power of our processors and more on the wisdom of the people who wield it, and that is a far less certain proposition.